All right, thank you for joining. This is Dr. Imfan Akpan, and I'm always excited to have guests, and I'm even more excited to have guests who I've had on before and who really, I mean, we've connected, we've discussed. It's just amazing to have Mr. Gael Gadah here again. And he's got a lot of amazing insights. Um, can you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself? I'm going to kind of hand it over to you.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Of course, it's always an honor, Professor, to have these great conversations with you. I'm a turnaround executive. I work with companies from various industries, from mostly in the US, from the East Coast to the West Coast. And what we do is we go into those companies, work with them to achieve their revenue goals, their profitability goals, and their cash flow goals, ultimately helping the company achieve whatever goal they'd like to achieve. Yeah. So in a nutshell, as a turnaround consultant, that's what we do. Mhm.
Okay,
Mm.
so well, I was going to ask you what exactly is it in simple terms, but what kind of companies do you typically call, when they're in trouble, and how do you tie this in?
Fair, fair. So two questions in one, right? Well, what's the turnaround in simple terms? And then what kind of companies do you usually work with? I'm going to give an example of a good company, right? I had a client in Atlanta, Georgia. This is a second generation company, been around over 30 years, doing about 10 million in revenue, highly profitable. This is one of the few companies of that size that has 2 million, over 2 million sitting in their bank account every single time.
Hmm.
And mind you, this company pays 100% bonus to all their managers and executives every single year.
Wow.
That's a good position to be in as a company of that size.
Hmm.
Now, many companies out there are not in that position. They are struggling to become profitable. They are winging it between the red line and breaking even. Many companies feel capped at a ceiling where they can't cross that revenue ceiling. Or many companies are dealing with that cash flow issue on a daily basis. Those are companies that ideally will work with a turnaround consultant to help them get to the next level. Whenever it's a revenue level that they want to target and reach, or a profitability level where they want to get off of the red line or the non-profitable zone to get into the more profitable position, or handle better their cash flow position. And now there's also the even worse situation where the company is really in a distressed situation, where the banks are calling all day long, decreasing or even cutting off their credit lines, and so many other issues around those, which are in bigger troubles, like most people will say. So all of those are turnaround situations where you bring in a turnaround consultant like ourselves, and so we can help them get into the better position.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah.
That's interesting. How did you get into this? And did you plan it? How did this come about?
I think it's something I grew into over time. I remember when I was in college, I was learning all these great things about accounting, about economics, about finance, marketing, you name it. And I always ask myself, you know, uh, that great construction worker who was just the best in town and finally started a business because he was so good at it. Did he take the time to learn all these accounting concepts? Did he take the time to learn all this marketing, you name it, economics? Necessarily not. So he's learning as he goes. And that's always been my passion. I say, well, you know what? I'm going to focus on the business side and learn exactly what it is to run a company so I can help those business owners, those entrepreneurs do their job better or achieve their goals better. So it's been a progressive approach. Uh, Working with other consulting firms. And in my latest role, when I was actually a turnaround consultant for another larger consulting firm, did that for many, many years. And finally, broke the line and started my own turnaround consulting firm. So it's been a progress, consistent, a journey. it wasn't the idea at the beginning, but it was definitely the destination at one point.
Gotcha. So you
Right.
grew into it,
Yeah.
and what was your first turnaround experience, and then what was that like?
I think the first one, I didn't call it a turnaround experience, even though it might have been one of them, right? I remember I was working with a few consultants, and I was called upon by one company. I was still in college, by the way, professor. And I was called upon by one company, yes, to come run the business. So I stepped in. It was a training company, so they organized training. So we've done a few work with them. They say, okay, hey, you know what? We want to bring you in actually as a manager so you can run this business with us. So I was, let's call it the interim CEO for that business. And I tried my best, just learn, did the best I could. I'll call it that was my first turnaround experience, even though it wasn't, I won't call it a turnaround at that time. Uh, but professionally, much later on, I started working with other consulting firms where I was actually learning the trade of what it is to be a turnaround consultant. So it was a journey. I would say that first one could have been the first one, but I would the name I would have given it wouldn't be a turnaround consultant at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you were in school, you had these opportunities, um, and that's not easy. So that's not something that's easy. So, I mean, and business is not easy. Business is hard. So, I mean, how did you figure out, or what brought you to wanting to do this for the long term?
You know, every single time you work with a company,
Mhm.
and I'm going to give you a simple example. Many, many years ago, I worked with an electrical company down in Ohio. This is a company that's been around for, when I was working with them many years ago, they were actually celebrating their 25th year, their quarter century in business at that time.
Okay.
But this is the company, the owner of that company, he works every day. Saturday and Sundays, he's always there working in the company. They've been doing good, but they never crossed that 1 million threshold.
Oh, you mean the 1 million, 1 million
1
revenue?
million threshold, yeah. That 1 million ceiling, or call it threshold or ceiling. They never crossed it in revenue.
Okay.
And that's a
Okay.
company that's been around for 25 years.
Wow.
And many years ago, I worked with that company. I worked with them only for 3 weeks. A year later, I looked at their books again. They were trending towards 2 million in revenue.
Oh, so they broke through, but all the way to 2 million?
All the way to 2 million in revenue. And that was just a year after we worked together.
Oh, wow.
So those type of stories, or those type of situations, and that's what makes you feel that what you're doing is just unbelievable. The kind of support, the kind of impact we are having in the life of those business owners of those companies is unbelievable. And I think that's what fuels the light within us for this type of work. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that would fuel me if I could go up to 2 million and I didn't even break 1 million. I mean, that would be
Over
worth a
25
lot.
years, they didn't break a million. Yep. Yep.
So, when you go into let's paint a picture. So when you go into a company that's struggling for the first time, so like you said with this experience, what are you looking for?
Good question. So first and first, there's this whole process that we try to go through. When we go to a company first time, the first thing is first to understand their business, to understand their pain, the pain they are going through, to do a diagnosis of the situation. What exactly do they do? What are the difficulties they are facing? What are the challenges they are facing? Now, you of course you interview the owners, the executives, the managers, down to the entry level employees, right? Many of them will share a lot of symptoms with you. A few will share the root cause with you, but then you have to step back and dive into the whole core of the problem, right? So after you do that diagnosis, then you will come up with a plan saying, okay, hey, this is what the numbers are saying, this is what the reality is, and here's how we can solve the problem.
Well,
Now,
what are the first few things that you usually fix or try to stabilize?
100%. So we come to that point, we come to that plan, and then we don't just give them a plan. First and foremost, I want to finish that process so you can see the full picture. And then so we don't just finish that plan and just say, hey, this is what you should do, go fix it. We actually roll our sleeves and work with the company so we can fix the problem. Now, what are the first thing first that we make sure we take care of? That's always the cash flow, right? We have to make sure there's enough money in the company first to sustain operations so the company can keep going, right? And then to even conduct this turnaround process, which is a cost to the company, we have to make sure there's enough cash flow to run the business and to sustain all the decisions we are making. And that's the first thing we make sure we stabilize first. Liquidity management. We want to make sure we are in a good position for that. And if there's a need to even request additional financing or some form of financing, so we can make sure the company keeps running smoothly, that's the first thing we focus on, that liquidity management first. And then, of course, depending on the type of company, depending on the size of the company, depending on the industry of the company, and depending on the kind of problems they are going through, then we then do a plan saying, okay, hey, these are the core problems we want to focus on first, and then this, and then this, and then that. Now, there's a key point in every turnaround engagement. It's not just about fixing the problem and then, and leaving the company. But it's most importantly about achieving the goals of the company or put the company on track to achieve those goals. It's probably a revenue goal. Okay, I'm going to grow the company from 1 to 2, or from 10 million to 20 million, or from 50 to 75 million, whatever that looks like. Or profitability goal. Okay, I want to grow profit by 20%, 30%, 50%, whatever that looks like. Or I want to get my cash flow to this certain level. So it is first and foremost, what are we trying to go as a company? And then what's in our way to get to that destination? So what are the core challenges that we are facing that's not helping us get to that destination? And those are the core challenges that we want to attack first before jumping on anything else.
So, you work with some big businesses, you work with some small businesses, some medium size, or what they call the middle market. What's the difference?
There's quite a bit of difference when you're working from the smaller spectrum to the larger spectrum. The first, I think the easiest way to put it is to always put it in terms of stories, right? You take a company. This guy was probably a guru of manufacturing, and he's worked in that industry forever. Finally, he decided to start his own manufacturing plant. You name it. So he will start running the business very well, and then at one point things are starting to get shaky. He calls in a turnaround consultant like us to help him out. Now, you are looking at someone who is starting from the smaller spectrum. It's a small business trying to grow. But because he wasn't expert at sales and marketing, he wasn't expert at finance, he was probably just expert as operation, the other pieces would be lagging.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So for a company like that, you are not just someone that says, okay, this is the right strategic course to take, but you actually you become the chief sales officer working along with that owner to achieve goals. At the same time, you become the chief marketing officer working alongside with them to achieve the goal. At the same time, it's the CFO. So it's more hands-on when you're working with companies, smaller companies, because the structure is first and foremost is not there yet, right? Or there's much to be refined when it comes to their basic business processes. But when you are moving to larger companies, we can call it companies who are on the higher spectrum of the middle market, they have already those processes in place. So you are mostly working on more strategic decisions. Okay, hey, this product is not bringing enough cash, as opposed to this other product, which is more cash flow, which has a better cash flow stream. So let's push first this product, as opposed to focusing on this product, which is where we are not being profitable at the moment. So it's more of a strategic decision as you're working with larger larger firms, as opposed to smaller ones, where we are down to the basics of business. How do you run sales? How do you even put together a proper pricing for your product and services? Or how do you optimize those operations? So that's what I see mostly from the smaller firms to the much larger firms.
Okay, so that's interesting. So you're really flexible. So the smaller ones more hands-on, the larger more strategic focus. But so what? Share with us one of these turnaround stories
Yeah.
that was really hard. That was really, I guess, one of those. I guess I don't want to say bittersweet, but that was really like hard for you, but you learned a lot, or it was challenging, but you got a lot out of it.
I think uh, every turnaround process can bring some form of challenges, but at the end of the day, uh, uh, the end justifies the means, right? By the time you are done with the whole process, you enjoy it. I'm going to share with you an example of one of the turnarounds I did. Matter of fact, we were talking about Oklahoma earlier, which is
Right.
you are located in Oklahoma. Yeah, I worked with a company in Oklahoma. It was probably one of the third largest chrome rubber manufacturing in Oklahoma.
Okay.
Second generation company. So when we first time I met them, of course, we did that diagnosis, right? Which is understand exactly what are the core issues with the company and so far and so forth to understand what's the pain point and what the company is trying to go when it comes to their goals.
Right.
So this company, a manufacturing plant, was running half of the time. That means half of the time the plant was down. Machines were not functioning properly. So some days employees will come to the plant to work, the plant will be shut down, so they have to return home or stay for a little bit where the employer is still incurring some cost. Of course, they were not profitable. Of course, they were facing a lot of cash flow issues. The salespeople were blaming it on the operations crew because they were the one who were not delivering in a timely manner. The operation crew was blaming it on the salespeople. They are not bringing in enough customers, and the owner was not happy after putting more and more money in the company. It was a blame game going on. Typical issue in those situations.
Hmm.
Of course, what we did is we come in the company, we do that diagnosis to know exactly, not just by listening to the symptoms that people are talking about, but go down to the root causes of the problem. And ultimately, what do they want to do as a company? What's their goals? At the end of the day, for this company, what we did was, hey, it's normal that we are not doing good. Plants are running half of the time, and that's causing us to incur costs. Why we are not generating enough revenue? Sales is not doing good because customers are backing down on us because we are not delivering in a timely manner, and it just tied into one another. The first thing we did was to fix the plant, and to fix the plant, we needed to buy some more equipment or replace some of the equipment, and to do that, we needed to go get some financing. So for this company, for example, we secured some financing for them to replace the equipment and get the plant back running fully. Now, let's put into numbers. Let's say the company was doing about 2.5 million a year. If they have been down half of the time, and that's why they are doing 2.5 million. If we bring them to full speed, well, that means we are doubling their production, right?
Hmm.
Or at least we are doubling their production capacity.
Right. That's
Exactly.
true.
Exactly. Now, that's not it. If we double production capacity for this particular plant, with double production capacity, it doesn't mean they will make as much sales,
Hmm.
right? So every business, at the very core, there are three portions you want to take care of, right? You have to go get the job, you have to do the job, and get paid for the job. The go get a job is the sales. If I
Right.
have to go get the customers. Now, getting the customers alone doesn't secure revenue. You still have to do the job. I get a customer and I do the job for them. In this particular case, well, we have to activate sales so sales can go bring in customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we bring in customers, we are producing so the customers can buy the product we are making. And finally, of course, they buy the product, they'll pay us, they will get paid. So go get a job, do the job, and get paid for the job. So as we ramp up the capacity of the plant to produce more by not breaking down anymore, we had to also put more momentum into sales so they can go get customers and to come buy the product and services. So
Okay.
for this particular company, what do we do? Exactly that. First, the issue was plant was breaking down, so wasn't producing as much. So we raised the financing to fix that first. And while we are fixing that, sales take a long time to bring customers. So we put more momentum in sales, build the processes, the metrics to manage sales properly so we can bring in customers. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we were able to take this company from that capacity of 2 million or 2.5 million to 5 million. And then another thing came
Oh
up
wow,
again
2.5 million to 5 million.
to 5 million. Yeah, the plant was breaking down half of the time,
Mm-hmm.
which was keeping them at a 2.5 million revenue. If we fix the plant and the plant is now functioning at full speed, well, we're able to bring the capacity, just the capacity, from 2.5 to 5 million. Now, bringing the capacity to 5 million doesn't ensure sales of 5 million. We still have to bring in the sales so we can have customers to grab the whole product, right? Now, I want to add a little more to that very example. Now, that wasn't the only issue with the company. Another issue with that company was now that the plant is running at full capacity, but they only had one shift. What does that mean? Machines can work all day long. I mean, you can take a few breaks to put some more oil and so far and so far in the machine, but they can run for the most part all day long. But if you only have one shift running of 8 hours, that means you can only produce up to that.
Okay. Yeah.
So, so one of the things we do with this company also was to then bring in from one shift to two shifts. And that was only possible because now sales is bringing in more customers and that we have to now produce more to meet the demand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in just that story, we're able to take this company from a capacity of 2.5 million to close to 10 million. Why? Because not only do we fix the plants to bring the capacity up, then we activated sales who brought in more customers, and then we double the shifts so we can even meet more demand.
So it went
So
from 5 million to 10 million. From wait a minute, from 2.5 to
we
5
have
to 10.
exactly to a capacity of 10 for this particular company. Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it and that's a generational company. So that's a family business.
That's a second generation company that's been around. Started with I would say the grandfather, then pass it on to the next generation, which are now running the company. Yeah.
That doesn't seem very common, but that is interesting. So I mean, with this, I mean, it seems like I mean, every business would need that, every business owner wants to make more money. Like finding out a way to either become more efficient or
Yep.
to do something better. So I guess my question is, what are some of the reasons that they come to? Is it just we need to make more money? We're at one, like the first example you gave, the company was, they were trying to break $1 million in revenue and they weren't able to do it. So they came to you to get some new ideas, fresh perspective, on how to move up and to get to that next level. Is it more of that, or are there issues that, you know Is it where, just like this last example where they were not running at, they were at 50% capacity? Hey, we need help in how to overcome this. What is this? What are some of the reasons that wind up coming to you?
The business owners go through lots of challenges, right? They go through lots of challenges, and when they are going through those challenges, it's not many of them don't seek help right away until it gets really, really, really bad,
Mm.
right? Many of them don't seek help right away until it gets really bad, until the bank start calling, until the bank start, decreasing that line of credit because you didn't pay the last time. Until it gets to those situations, it's hard for many business owners to seek help. But now some of them will do, right? So I think it's a mix of situations. But usually when the pain gets to a certain level, where where you feel, okay, now I think I've tried the best I could, I can get out of it. Many of them will seek help at a time. Yeah.
So it's normally it's not it's not in a good situation. They need help to get out of the bad situation.
But, but that's not the only reason why you bring a turnaround consultant in. You can be doing fairly good, but you want to do better. Let's say in the revenue example we discussed earlier, we're running a company. The company, I feel I'm capped at this revenue level that I'm trying to cross, but I just don't know how to go about it. You bring in someone who will help you throughout that situation, right? And the good thing about bringing in a turnaround consultant like us in those situations is because we are seeing a similar situation across businesses every single day, right? Last month I was working with a different business. This month I'm working with another different business. But most of the situations are roughly, not always exactly the same, but roughly the same across the board, right? Someone who's been through that with another company, and then through the same thing with another company again, and through the same thing with you again. That's such a wealth of resource to have on your side, right? And Professor, sometimes, especially with the smaller firms, smaller businesses, it comes down to it comes down to the basic science of running or building certain processes, right? Let me take your price, for instance. You hear a lot of construction companies saying, hey, you know what? You know how I price this? Well, I took my cost and multiplied it by 3.
Uh-huh.
How do you know you took your cost, you multiplied by 3? It's covering not just your cost truly, but it's covering your overhead and it's covering your profit that you had to make out of that job or that activity. So
Okay.
there's a whole science to pricing. Right? You can land on a good pricing, you can build a good estimate by mistake, but it's better to know the science so you can cross your T's and dot your I's, right? So that's the whole purpose of bringing someone like us who understand that science behind pricing, who understand how to build your sales and marketing team or processes, who understand how to make your operations more efficient or how to run your cash flow in a more efficient manner. That's the core, or that's the bottom line of this whole process.
So that was an interesting example when you gave that with that estimate. So it could be more of, so you have some situations where someone doesn't know what they don't know, and then they have what I call a good bad problem, meaning, their pricing is off, they get more sales. So the business is growing, which is a good problem. The bad problem would be they're not pricing correctly, so they're not making money. So then they don't know why they're. So in other words, I'm getting more clients, more business, but I'm losing money. So
That's it.
it can be a good bad problem. So I see
Yeah,
what you mean by that. But
yeah.
are there any other like early warning signs that, well, actually in that example, it's kind of like there's not really a warning sign in that example, but are there examples of early warning signs where something stumbled, but maybe they ignored it, or maybe they didn't, they said maybe, oh, this isn't a big deal. And then later on, it turns into something big. And then that's when you come in to help them with it.
Your cash flow will usually tell you. Your cash flow is your early warning sign, right? If you have to rumble, a raw Peter to pay Paul, if you have to always fight to meet the payroll, if you have to, your cash flow will tell you for the most part, right? All the way up to getting to a certain level when now the banks also are telling you, or your financiers are also telling you. So your cash flow will tell you. I'm going to go back a little bit to that pricing problem that we talked about earlier,
Okay.
right? Because I see a lot of construction firms, for example, get into trouble with that, right?
Okay.
You do you get a great job, let's say a job worth $1 million, right? Now, to get that job done, probably you have to even use a line of credit or borrow some money just to get a job done, because you say, well, I'm going to get this job done. I'm going to build this job. I'm going to get this much money out of it. But at the end of the day, that job was was not profitable, right? Well, if you are not watching your numbers, you'll be like, okay, yeah, you know what? No, it's fine because, I borrowed money. You don't even know if you've been profitable or not. And then you get the next job again, the same thing goes on and on and on and on. Basically, what you're doing is digging yourself into low profitability, into the red, and further into the red, and further into the red. And at one point, it becomes overwhelming.
Okay.
And getting out of that red is even more terrible than if you caught it very early on. So as simple as pricing can be, or as estimating can be, if you're not tracking your number, you can get very easily and very badly into trouble. Just to expand a little bit on that pricing point we talked about earlier.
Okay, that's interesting. So when we talk about the timeline, because I mean, you've given examples of going, breaking $1 million, 2.5 million to 5 million to about 10 million. So how long does this normally take? And then like, how do you know this is trending in the right direction?
100%, 100%. In every engagement we take, one of the most important things you have to track. You have to always build metrics to track achievement or results towards progress towards the goal you've set with the company, right? So far, you have all your revenue metrics, your profitability metrics, your cash flow metrics, your operations metrics, sales and marketing metrics. Everything you are building, you are tracking it to see how much results if it's been successful, right? Sometimes you are even tracking to see, okay, which channel, for example, when it comes to sales and marketing, which channel is bringing more result as opposed to the other. So you can focus on the one that are bringing more result. So you track whatever you are doing. You have metrics. You set up metrics to track the success of what you are doing on the weekly basis. Now, timeline wise, when you get into a company, we do the diagnosis, we put together a plan, and then we are now implementing the plan, making sure we solve cash flow issues very early on, so we can be on good track. There are some activities that generate results right away, while other activities take a little longer to generate result. I'm gonna give you an example, right? If we change our price today, right? If we change our price today, if we optimize our price today, as soon as we sell something today, we will see the result right away.
Okay.
Right. So that one you see a result pretty much instantly, depending on the business, depending on the industry. For some industry like construction, for instance, you estimate and then you win your bid by the time. So it may take a little longer to see the result, but generally, some things will bring result right away, while other things will take a little more time to show result. But overall, every single week we track those metrics to see, okay, are we trending upward toward our goal? That's the first one. When I take sales, for example, Well, depending on industry, how you conduct sales is different. But then it's gonna take time for the time you identify your leads, for the time you convert them, to the time they actually buy products and services from you. So that process will take time. So for that process, for example, the ultimate result you're gonna see right away is not gonna be how much revenue did I make tomorrow while we implemented the process today. But it made me, okay, how better are our metrics down the pipeline? Are we getting more qualified leads? Are we converting better those leads? All the way up to, are we getting more customers? Finally, are we getting how much, how is that translating into revenue and actual revenue? So we track all those metrics to make sure, okay, it's trending upward. But turnaround by itself is short-term in nature, short to mid-term. So you're looking for a few weeks to a few months, right? Because there's a difference between being a turnaround consultant as opposed to being a turnaround executive. Let me explain. You
Yeah.
hire.
Explain that. That's interesting.
Yeah, so you hire a CEO to come run your company for the next 2 years or 3 years to help you get to this level. That's a turnaround executive. He's gonna stay with that company for quite a bit so we can achieve to turn the company around. As opposed to you hire a turnaround consultant who is not gonna work for the company for that long period because that's a cost to you, but who's gonna come for a short-term engagement, short to mid-term engagement to implement or to help solve a problem, to help get the company back on track, to help the company achieve a certain goal.
Mm.
So one is, well, it's a full-time employee that's being there. It's gonna be there for all the way through from the start to not just solving the problem, implementing everything, but staying through and see all the way to the end for a year or more, 2 or 3, or even more, as opposed to a consultant that you bring in for a short term. Hey, I'm facing this problem. I can't get out of it. Help me get out of it. Then he analyzes, gets to the facts, and say, hey, let's clearly see this. This is the problem that we are facing. Let's put a plan together. This is the plan we all agree on. Plan. I'm gonna help you implement the plan and stay there, roll the sleeves, and help you get that plan done to turn the
So
company around. Yeah.
so that's interesting. So okay, I get it. The turnaround CEO, you're there for a long time, but the consultant is for a shorter time. But how long are you involved after the turnaround, or you just kind of disappear?
No, 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 no. You always try to keep that flame going, right? You put the process in place, you put everything in place, you implement the turnaround project, you see it all the way through. And even after that, you keep checking in with the company. The communication line is open. You may even come back saying, hey, you know what? It is true. You showed us how to do this, how to run this sales thing. A client called me 2 weeks ago. Say, you know what? Yeah, we have now the sales team, our sales team we are running, but we are still struggling with this. Well, okay, let's jump in the call so we can see exactly what the issue is and fix it, right? So there is that process, but you keep the momentum open, you keep the communication line open because you may help them come back and help them get things lined up or refine a few more things here and there. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: would that be a new engagement, or do you have like a formal aftercare process? You know, so like let's say, for example, let me paint a
Yeah.
picture.
Mhm.
If you help me get to, I'm still thinking about that 2.5 million to 10 million,
Mhm. Mhm.
and then a year later, I'm like, hey, Gael, I need some help with something. I'm trying to get, maybe I'm trying to get from 10 to 20 or something like. Is that a new engagement, or would that
That,
be
that
aftercare, or?
no, that'll probably be a new engagement. Let's go back to that example of that company, construction manufacturing company from two and a half to a capacity of 10 million. That's not something you see overnight, right? Let's take it one by one. The capacity increase, the capacity increase of the plan from 2.5 to 5 million. That's something you will see as soon as the plan That's one thing we saw as soon as the plant was fixed. Let's paint an example. The reason why the plant was not able to produce up to 5 million is because half of the time was breaking down. So as soon as we fix the machine, replace the blade and fix the machines, replace some of the equipment, now the plant can produce up to 5 million. That problem was solved.
Okay.
Right. Now, it doesn't mean that that company is now generating 5 million revenue. No, because you still have to go get the sales to have the customer that will come buy all the product to achieve that full 5 million. Are we on the same page, Professor?
Yes,
Exactly. Yes. So that's our process. It may take time. From the time we start engaging qualified leads, from the time we send them samples to see exactly the product, depending on the pipeline or the sales process of the company, to the time we actually get those customers that actually place orders, it might take time. And to the time we get enough orders to actually fully achieve that capacity of 5 million, it might take time. Right. But you build the process, you build all the process. Hey, this is what our pipeline will look like. This is what we are doing at every stage. These are the metrics we are using to measure success at every stage. And this is how we solve this type of problem when it rises. Hey, if at this stage, if this problem arises, this is how you solve it. So you build all those and you train the sales team on how to do that until you start getting customers to finally achieve fully the capacity of 5 million. And then as we are getting more and more customers, I mean, the demand is growing, then, well, what do we do? Hey, you know what? We are doubling down on our, in this particular case, we doubled the shift, right? It wasn't only one shift, we went down to a second shift. So that's the whole process too. That means you have to hire new people, you have to have a whole process in place to manage all of that and so far and so forth. So it's a whole process. It's not over time, but there are some results you can measure right away as soon as we were done fixing those plants. Well, we know the capacity is down to this. Now, the other problem that we are fixing along the line is the sales problem. You have to build a sales team. I mean, think about it. You have to train those people. They have to get comfortable. They have to understand how to do this. They were not doing it in the professional way before. So that's the whole time, right? It was going to take a time for them to master that trade or master what they're doing or get more comfortable with that and give results. So depending on the company, the skill set of the teams, the crews that you are dealing with, it may take a little longer or a little less longer, or it may be more instant or not. So there are those factors that come into play. But the most important thing is every single time we are measuring success towards the goal. Yeah.
So okay. So it seems like if you have really drastic or challenging situation, you come into it, there's a lot more of a faster impact versus, let's say, things are running. Not to say it wouldn't be immediate or drastic, but things are going good. But now we've got to try. Let's try to lift it up versus, you know, if everything is just going bad, you come in and really shake things up immediately. I guess that's where I'm going with it.
If you're going, yeah, and probably I should give a little more examples so you can see how some of the solution can bring cash instantly or stop bleeding instantly, while others will take more time. I spoke a little bit about pricing. I spoke about sales. Let me give you an example. I was working with this roofing company in Michigan, in the state of Michigan. So in this particular roofing company, employees will come very early in the morning and will be around chit-chatting, waiting for other people to show up before they get on the van to go to whatever work site they have to go to. So they have that policy of let's meet in the office.
Okay.
And we wait for the other people to get here. So they will be there waiting for 31 hours or so before some other people will get there. And then when everybody's ready, then they take off to the work site. And then from that work site, they may go to another work site or come back to the office, go home. The same thing happens again the next day.
Okay.
And during that whole time, as soon as they show up, the clock starts ticking. So the company is already paying for those, right? So let me give you an example. Let's take that example. Let's say we are paying those employees roughly $50 an hour, including all the labor burden. The true cost of those employees, including their insurance, their health insurance, all those workers' comp, payroll tax, everything, full cost, true cost of those employees are $50 per hour. And let's
Right.
say there are 20 employees. That means if they all come and waste that 1 hour in the morning, that means every single day, the company is paying $50 times 20,
Okay. Okay.
wasting that, just like that. Because that's not productive time. Some people come late, so they're dead there, chit-chatting until that. So solving that problem alone, that's bringing back that money. So $50 times 20 employees, right? That's about 2,000, right? So, so that's 2,000 a day. 2,000 a day, 50 times 50 times 5. That's 2,000 a day times 5, 2, that's 10. That's 10,000 a week, right? So that's 10,000 a week times 50 weeks a year. So we just say that that company, right? What is that? 50 times 10,000.
So,
I'm using my calculator here quickly.
well, yeah, yeah,
We just say that company, we just say that company roughly $500,000 a year.
yeah,
Just by
500.
implementing, just by implementing that simple solution. To say, hey, you know what? No, now we are not even meeting in the office. We all go to the work site. Depending on the situation, there can be different ways to solve that. But if we solve that problem, we just say that company $500,000 a year. That one, that's something instant. We solve the problem instantly. And maybe we solve that problem, but it's not fully solved. There's still a few days here and there where we incur some cost. So even as opposed to getting $500,000 back to the bank account of that company, if we get even half of that, 2.5 million, that's also 250K, 250, 250K a year. That's also something back to the pocket. That goes back straight to your profit, right? So sometimes it can be something really, really substantial. Other time it can be those points where the company is bleeding without even knowing. Until you raise the attention to see that.
Well, that what you just mentioned was bleeding without knowing. So you
Yeah,
were coming in and finding so it sounds like with this, you're finding money. So there may be the company is having issues, they're having one problem, but you're finding other ways and other things to bring money back into it in the business. So that's
yeah.
amazing.
It's a combination of both or all. I think my screen is sticking a little bit. I'm not sure why. Is everything good with my video?
Yeah, you're looking good to me.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, so it's a combination of all, right? Sometimes you have to fix the basic, the fundamental business, depending on the size of the business. Other times you have to spot those bleeding spots, and stop the bleeding. Other time you have to make some core strategic decision and say, okay, how do we achieve this goal? How do we achieve this goal? And go down the core of achieving that goal, come up with a plan to achieve the goal. Other time is any different type of issue. So that's why we spend that time first and foremost to diagnose the company and see what are the core issues in this company right now. And that's going from interviewing everybody in the company, as many as you could, and go collecting all kind of documents, financials, and so far and so forth, so you can dive into the numbers. They say people can misrepresent reality, but numbers don't always do. Right.
I like that, misrepresenting reality.
Exactly. So you go down to the core to find where the problem is, and then put a plan together to say, okay, this is how we solve the problem. And now you don't just come up with a plan out of the blue and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. I've learned that the hard way at the beginning of my career, right? You say, hey, you know what? You are just gonna fight all day long, even the owners, the executive, the managers, everybody all day long. But you do it together. You show them the problem and then you train them, okay, hey, when you see this problem, how do you solve it? And then you come up with a plan. Or you make them appropriate the plan as opposed to saying, hey, this is what you should do. You come up with it together. Work with them to come up with the plan to solve it. And now, think about it again. Here's the plan. You are there, you are the owner of the company, or you are the CFO, CEO, or CSO, CM, or whatever, or one of the managers of the company. You have so much in your plate. Now you have to go and work on a whole different project to turn around the company. So that's where we stay with the company, roll our sleeves so we can work with them to solve the problem. Not just give them a plan and work with them to solve the problems.
And they get the credit, I hope. If it's the CFO, I hope I get the credit for bringing you in and for the implementing the plan.
You know what? It's always a team sport. It's always a team sport. Yeah, it's
Okay.
always a team sport. Because by yourself, I mean, think about it. You come out of nowhere, you show up in front of 100 employees and say, hey, moving forward, we're going to do this, they'll fight you all day long. I'm actually going to share a story with you when it comes to that. I work with a construction company in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
The estimate of this company has been in the industry for over 30 years. Great person. I love these guys. Good people. Um, but then the core of estimating, when you look at his estimating process and the way he comes up with the estimate, there were so many things that were off. So the first thing I was to do was to show him, hey, if we want to run a good estimate so we can know our numbers, to know how well and if we're actually being profitable on this estimate of how much uh, we have to run it this way. So you have to train someone who's been doing something for 30 years a certain way. Think about how would you feel about that sudden change? Something you've been doing for 30 years and you believe you've been doing a great job. And most of the time, it's not because he wasn't doing a great job, but because he was working to a larger company and who had a certain process, and he walked into another company and just using the same process from the other side. But you can use the numbers out of the based on the P&L and the balance sheet of another company with another company. Are we on the same page, Professor?
Yeah.
Exactly. The labor burden is going to be different. The overhead ratios are going to be different. Even so many things different. So so you have to train that person on how to do this moving forward. Now, if you don't work with the person and you come and pull something to that person, you are just going to fight that person all day long. So it's never a work in silo. We work together with all the managers, the executive, the employees of the company to get things done, as opposed to um, claiming credit or saying, okay, hey, this person, that person. No, it's a team. It's a team sport.
Well, it's a team sport. There's a lot of trust involved.
100%.
You're coming in. It's definitely not a good situation
Yeah.
um, in most cases.
In
So in
most
most
cases. Yeah.
cases, so what do you enjoy most about this type of work, this type of job?
You know, it's the satisfaction that comes with it,
Okay.
right? The satisfaction that comes with it. I can't tell you how many times I've seen business owners, people who are in $10 million companies, 20, 30, $30 million companies crying in front of me because they are going through a lot. They just don't know how to get out of it. I can imagine how their wife will be the one thanking me because finally they can have the husband at home for a little bit because they can finally go on vacation for a little bit. So that satisfaction of really changing those business owners' life or really changing the course in a positive way, the course of those companies, I think it goes without saying. Right? And then take an example I shared before. That company, the guy, great person, great business owner, running that company for over 25 years. They couldn't cross that ceiling. And in just 3 weeks, we get it way off to over 2 million or to close to 2 million in just 2 weeks. I mean, they won't see the result in just 3 weeks. They will see progress in 3 weeks. But a year after we saw the P&L, they are close to 2 million. Right. That's a whole satisfaction you get for doing something like that. You see how you are bringing changes to the business's life, to those owners' life, how you are making life easier to those managers, those executives, and there's nothing better than it. I think that's the main satisfaction that I personally, and I know many of my colleagues also get from doing this line of work.
So that's good. So if there are business owners listening, or someone that knows a business owner, or someone that's working for a business that is having challenges, or maybe it's a situation where there could be more opportunities. They could do better. That they feel like, we could go from 1 million to 2 million, but they don't know how. What is some advice that you would give to them?
You know what? That's a very, very, very great question. What piece of advice can I share with any business owner out there? The advice may be different from the smaller businesses to the lower middle market businesses, to the middle market, to the upper middle market businesses. It's all gonna be different. There's something I've seen consistently across the board, right? Qualities that or things that I've seen with those businesses that were doing great. I gave the example of that HVAC company in Atlanta, Georgia, that I worked with back in the days, who's doing roughly 10 million in revenue, paying 100% bonus to their executive. I can mention another company I work with in Ocala, Florida, who was doing close to 25 million revenue, great margin. All of those business owners that are doing great had something in common. They knew their numbers and they kept watching their numbers every day. They knew their numbers, they kept watching their numbers every day. They understand the cross structure of their business. They check the impact of the decision they're about to make on the cash flow of the business. Say, okay, hey, can my business sustain this? Or is this going to be profitable for me? Or this, they knew, understand their numbers and kept tracking those numbers. I think that's a great quality I've seen in those businesses that have been more successful. That's the first one. And at the end of the day, cash flow is king. You can have a very profitable business, but if the cash flow doesn't come in and out at the right time, you can get into serious trouble. Right? So cash flow is king. Now, for the smaller businesses, this will be my core point.
Okay.
If you're a business owner out there and you are still the chief everything officer, make sure you think about your business from this angle. You have to find a way, a process to always consistently be going to get the job. Find a process to price it properly. Find a process to get a job done. When you do get a job done efficiently, and always track your numbers. And make sure you get paid for the job. I want to repeat that. That's for the smaller ones. Find a process to consistently go get the job. That's your sales and marketing.
Right.
Find a process to price it properly. A process to do it efficiently. Make sure you get paid and track your numbers. You follow that line, there's great chances that those businesses are going to do much better than not doing those four core things.
That was good, and that's very interesting, and that is really good advice. What are some other services that your firm offers, and then if someone did want to talk to you, get in touch with you, how can they connect with you?
Great point. How do we connect? millionnext.com, that's our website. You'll find our contact information there. Reach out very easily. Now, what are the other services we offer? What do we offer as a firm at Millionaires Group? What do we offer? See, the way we build our services is fully to support companies during those turnaround processes. The first, of course, is the turnaround, right? Where we go into companies, diagnose, understand their problem, put a plan together, and help them implement that plan all the way through fruition. Now, in that process, something happens all the time. In that process, you end up hiring a few people or letting go of a few people within the company. And so we have our own recruiting department that handles that recruiting every time we are on work with the company. So
Okay.
that's one of the services that we offer recruiting. Second, you walk into so many companies where the numbers are not looking good, the books are not accurate or not put together properly, or the financial management infrastructure is not there. So we have our own accounting department that we bring in to come clean those things up so we can have good numbers to work with.
Hmm.
And last but not least, another department we have is the marketing department. Many of the company or some of the companies we work with don't have the best digital presence. So we help them clean their digital presence or establish that digital presence through our marketing
Hmm.
department. Right. And then last but not least, which you and I have talked about before, we have a software engineering and implementation department, right? In many companies that we work with, there is that part where you have to put in place an ERP or a system to help the company manage better their operation. Ideally, manage not just better their operations, but also their sales and marketing and their finances. Depending on industry, there's always a better system or a better ERP or a better project management system, whatever you want to call it, that helps better. So we have that team that does that software implementation across the board with our clients. So those are the services we offer. First, the turnaround, the accounting, the recruiting, the marketing, and of course, that software implementation or development.
This is all areas. I mean, this is amazing. This has been great. And we want to be respectful of your time. What is final words you have for, or do you have any final words for the listeners?
Yeah, I know there's some business owners that are listening to us right now, some executives or whoever you are working for a company. Um, there's help out there, right? Many of those problems that companies face, when you go to the core, many of those are easy fix problems, right? In the sense that there are some core fundamentals of businesses that you need to have in place when you're running your company. If it's not there, it's not rocket science. You get someone who knows how to put it in place, they'll put it in place for you. So it's never a bad thing to seek help, and better do a health check than get sick before going to the hospital. Yeah,
Yes, yes. I like that. I like that. Getting a health check before you get sick. So,
go to the hospital.
and that's always important. And I think many times we find it hard to we can get set in our ways, but it is really important to get another set of eyes, to talk to someone, especially you're in this. You've got the experience of seeing all types of businesses, helping the businesses, and you've got everything in place, so it can give that extra perspective. So this has
100%.
been amazing. Gael Gadah, thank you so much. I appreciate you
Thank
joining.
you. Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure speaking with you again, as always, Professor.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.